You can hit start video. And now stop video. And hit mute.
Usually it says.
You can say that up there.
Okay. Well. All right, welcome everybody to the November Parks and Rec meeting. Everybody should have had a chance to review the minutes of the last meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the October minutes?
Mr. President, I motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Stat. And Barbara Carvel with a second. So great. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Um, an introduction, we have a visitor today, so Mr.
Bruce Parker, bike and pad, and it's the Waggy Road that we have so much in common with. So that's why I'm here.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Bruce. Did you have anything you'd like to
No.
bring up at this time about bike and ped?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Daniel. Take it away.
Sure. Well, business discussion, Auburn Farms up first. Right now, we're into the scope of work, design and construction of the cost project.
Hold on, yeah, before you. You got it all. No, we should start with those.
Well, there we go. Let's start recording over with. Let's start with Locust Street then. Yeah, right off the bat, I did mention about the graffiti problems on the last meeting. We did actually put up a camera on our Wi-Fi pole, and that seemed to help. Jeff was in process of looking through some of the tape, got some video. We did submit some of that to the police department. I haven't heard the outcome of that, but at least there's a camera there, and it seems to be helping, in my opinion. It subsided a little bit. Graffiti does come in waves, but right now it seemed like maybe word's getting around. And based on the video we've seen, you can see people kind of seeing it and talking and stuff. So
Now, we've we've contacted the police department to notify, and do we know if the police are taking any action on that at all?
I don't know for a fact. I just know they, after talking so many weeks with them, they put in like more patrols through the night as that part, but that's as far as I know.
Okay. But with the camera, we're able to identify the individuals. Good.
Depends on the location. We have it positioned a lot on the picnic tables that are the shelter area.
Okay.
So if they're sitting there, we can also see all the different tables. Obviously, any further out, it's kind of tough to see.
And all the restrooms.
Yeah, the restrooms are also on there too as well. So, yeah.
Okay, and before you go on to the next one, I got an email today, and maybe you can comment, or maybe Jeff, the city of Canby is closing Community Park beginning Monday, the 27th, and this is gonna last about a month until December 27th to complete the improvement project. So I'm assuming maybe the other restrooms are shut down.
Yes, yeah, just found that out today, actually, closing the park, like you said, November 27th, the Monday after Thanksgiving. And tentatively, the restrooms are coming December 18th. Not a promised date, but tentatively for that date. So construction will begin getting it ready for those to be united. And so good news, things are happening.
And according to someone, Jerry or Jeff or whatever, they might have stopped doing graffiti at Locust Street Park, but then they picked up a Community Park.
Little bit, yeah, kind of, and even downtown too, not the parks, but I know that along township has been hit. So they're kind of moving around, but it does kind of come with the territory. So we had to shut down briefly, community for some issues, but they're back open here soon. So.
Ken, what are we doing, if anything, to notify the community that the park is gonna be down and how long, et cetera?
I believe it's probably gonna be put on the website. I mean, at least it was a rapid type of closure in June. For the public to know. There will be a signage with the gate closed. And also probably we'll have a sandwich board out there saying it's closed as well.
Yeah.
But I believe the last one was some kind of on
It went out on Facebook.
on Facebook, okay, word got around really fast with that one. So, yeah,
Let's do what we can, so that they don't go down there expecting to get in and saying, they're
Yeah.
closing my park forever.
yeah, we do have a couple, of course, we have the Boy Scouts down there that, which worked out well before, we gave her a key to get down there when she needed to. We do have a volunteer group for the native plant sanctuary. He has a key to get down there when he needs, when they do the volunteer work, so. It's all working out good.
Okay,
Okay,
next.
okay, next one. Outdoor exercise court. Basically on that one, go back to what I said before, scope of work changed. And what we did, 7 bids and resubmit, so. Basically, we had 7 bids out there, 1 came through, but we're gonna use that one as the model for the scope of work that's changed. And resubmit to the other people. That one.
So now that's gone out for, I think. From what I understand, they went out to get 3 more bids. Or 2 more bids compared to the one that we have.
Yeah,
Okay,
And that work includes pouring the pad and installing the equipment?
that one's just strictly for the pad.
pouring the pad.
I think part of the cost is already installing the equipment that we have out there. That's already an original thing. Yeah, this is strictly just for the pad and get it to what it is to accept the equipment.
And Kara's done, she's taken some photographs, of artwork that we may put on there. We're gonna look at some other options. As well, I sent an email to Swan Island Dahlias to see if they might have some artwork on file or whatever, and maybe the Canby Historical Society might have something, that we might use. I guess, the last time we voted, we decided to use pictures. Like 7-2, we had a couple people that said, why don't we use the dahlias that we use on the park name place that we have, the big dahlias, so. We don't have to have anything. I talked to the installer, the manufacturer, and they said the art files must be finalized and ready to print at least 2 weeks before the installation. And they said the installation is scheduled for the spring, so there's still quite a bit of time. So, there we go.
Okay. Auburn Farms. Dodds Park. Right now, we're scope of work, design, construction costs. Many of you attended the community outreach, neighborhood outreach the other night, and I think Barry emailed a copy of the describing all the different things that the people wanted. I don't know if anybody any question, if they have that, if not, I can get a copy to you.
Well, there were. It's a decent sized list, but it's not anything that's really crazy. I thought the meeting went pretty well. We had almost all of our members there, and I think everybody was in agreement that the meeting went pretty well with the folks.
The mood in the room, I got there a little late, as you know, but the mood in the room was very happy and satisfied. I didn't hear anybody saying they're gonna use all our parking in front of all of their houses, and that's what I was expecting.
Yeah, and the initial meetings, when the people showed up here, they were really concerned about the parking, but it wasn't as much of a focal point as at our meeting that it was earlier. So I don't know if we want to discuss any of these, or just wait until the contract is awarded, and then we see what we pass these on to them, and they come up with another rendering.
I'd say when we get their final rendering, then we go over this.
Okay. You have anything?
I do. So on some of these on the list, when it has to do with parking, whether it's on street, off street, putting across crosswalks and that. A lot of this, that will have to be bounced off the traffic safety committee. And ran through that. And we need to follow our guidance through traffic safety also.
Okay.
We're getting outside of the scope of the park is what I'm trying to say, so we need to follow other people's procedures.
Yeah, I wouldn't think the items requested here, I wouldn't think they're anything that traffic safety is gonna balk at, I wouldn't think. And what I did on the comments, if in parentheses, I put like a number on some of these. And that meant that I received more than one comment for the same thing, like save the oak tree, like 4 people mentioned that. There's probably nothing we can. Yeah, no. All right, anybody have anything, comments on? Auburn?
What's the timeline then on that?
Do you guys have any?
We just asked for a scope of work, as Kenny said, and engineering, design, and construction costs. So at that point, then once we receive that, we'll go out and maybe have to get a couple more bids too. So we're in the development scope of work phase right now. We have concept, what's it gonna cost us?
Right. We'll see that. Or we'll see that in a month or two.
I'm hoping so.
Okay.
I'm hoping that we're in construction in 2024 and it's completed. That's what I would like to see, but.
The neighborhood would too.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, Ken.
Okay, up next, tree bench program. I submitted some materials to Cara there last time, and I think she's got quite a bit for us to talk about.
Okay, put your pen down.
Okay, well, I don't know, I mean, so I just went on the City of Westland, because that's where I looked before. And printed out what they have, which is pretty much exactly what we want, in my opinion. And so I emailed it out. They have a menu of what, you can get, and the costs associated with it. And they have an application, and then they have a whole list of rules and purposes and background and all of that stuff. So the purpose, background, management philosophy, those we would need to definitely have the, unique to the city of Canby. But a lot of the other things, like the criteria, strikes me as being very comprehensive and just the things we want, safeguarding the autonomy and authority of the city, while at the same time accommodating this as a, something that's people, citizens could participate in and, feel good about as well. So anyway,
I received that, I looked it over, and I thought, yeah, it looks good. We just have to put it in Canby's
yeah,
words. But what I would like to see is, on their, well, Ken has.
well,
a
yeah,
copy of
so
theirs.
Ken gave me his copy, because I have, or some stuff, so I have this from last time that Ken gave me. And then the work that he did on that for pricing, so I have all of the stuff.
Mhm.
And I think, like a lot of this, this work has been done by the city. you know, we have some established things like the trees that we would approve and that kind of thing. So it's just kind of plugging our information in. Their purpose is to establish guidelines for the consistent decision-making process related to the acceptance, placement, and long-term maintenance of public requests for memorial donations in city-owned facilities, parks, natural areas, and trail system. Ooh, so I'm not sure that that's our purpose, but that's their purpose. So,
What do, I guess, Jeff, maybe you and Ken can speak for the parks, I mean, your feelings on the program, you know, by establishing a policy within the city of Canby.
As far as, I mean, I noticed in the past, before my time, we have some memorial plaques and trees out there. I think we definitely have to have a policy. I mean, I was reading a little bit about Westlands, and I agree with some of that as far as them, you know, making sure it's a tree that's acceptable for the right spot, not to take away from what we're trying to create as a park and maybe make it an eyesore. I mean, it just depends. So obviously we would be the ones to want it to, you know, be friendly about it and say, and this is your options here, and have them choose or whatever. Right? Yeah.
and they have pretty good solid guidelines, because pretty much the bottom line on everything is we get to set. And I
Yeah.
think we need to say that too.
And I do like a little bit added to that as far as like, after it's in, it becomes city
Right.
property,
Right,
and if it gets vandalized, we're not gonna pay for it,
exactly.
things like that.
All of that stuff I think
Yeah,
is good.
that's stuff I didn't think about before.
Right,
So
but that's
it's a
why I
good-
say, I feel like it's really
It's
comprehensive.
a good example to pick a lot of good
Yeah.
things from.
I think so too.
And even the tree too, as far as they said, it's not in a irrigation area. Then there's really no guarantees.
That it survives and we're not gonna replace it if it doesn't and all of that stuff.
But we have tree bags in that spot,
Yeah.
that's not, we're good about putting the tree bag out
Yeah.
for the first couple of years till it's established, so this depends on the location, but.
Barbara?
Yeah, I think this is a wonderful thing, and I'm so happy that Weston's able to do that. That they're building on a structure that has a department. They have a department head who does not have to lean on the planning commission to be a staffing person. And so I think, even though it's a great idea, I think it's premature, because I think one of the things we have to come to grips with sooner or later is that we need to have a park and rec director. And the other kinds of things that go along with that, including funding for some time. Now, nobody would say that our staff has lots of extra time. Nobody would say they've got nothing better to do. And even the setup itself, it does not, in my view, fit our Parks and Rec department. So for that reason, I think it's premature for us to approve, to go forward with this for this town. I don't think Weston fits us because we don't have the management structure to do justice to it. And when I looked at it highlighted just a few of the things that are gonna take staff time. The setup itself is gonna take staff time, whether to mail what to do about the plaques and how to arrange that. It's all distracting from our centric purposes right now. And so when I oppose it, it's not because I don't think it's a good idea. I just think it's an idea a little ahead of its time.
Yeah, we are a park and rec.
We don't
district.
have it.
We don't have that.
And we need
And our board, our parks board isn't going to drive this policy.
who is?
Kara is putting this together as Terry Jones put together our park naming policy. So Terry worked that up, brought it into us, we approved it, sent it on to city council blessed us, and they put it into, or they created policy. That's the same thing that's gonna happen here, is Kara is going to put together this program. Okay, and she'll write it up and she'll use examples provided of benches and bike racks and trees that Ken provides. it'll come back to us, we can review it. But it's gotta go to council for them to approve and implement and put it into, and make it policy. I know what you're saying. And, you know, and
I
it's,
just don't want to distract from what the burdens that our people carry, nor do I think we ought to be launching however meritorious. Its absence is gonna be completely obvious when the city even hears about the fact that here's a new thing we're gonna do. Even if it's not a time consuming thing, it does have staff implications, so I will try not to protest more than twice, but I do think it's premature,
yeah, and that's fine, but I understand what you're
policy
saying.
or no policy.
Yeah. Kara, I think is, you know, is willing to put it together. And then she can run it by us and we can look at it and we can poke holes in and change it. It's eventually gonna go to city council, and if they think it's a, you know, if it's something that they can council, or if somebody wants to put a bench in, it's not gonna come to Parks Board and say, we wanna put a bench in that logging trail. You know, they're gonna make that recommendation and then it's gonna go to city. And I hear what you're saying because they're understaffed as it is, and
But
that,
the city is gonna do that without a department head to take care of it.
well, that's something.
We can do it planning.
That's something that will play out over time, I think, you know, we'll just have to. We'll have, it isn't, we're not gonna let that get in the way of the other projects that we have, that we're working on. We have other
You're just
things,
gonna open the door to,
just opening the door.
that's all.
And I can't imagine it's gonna be, people are just gonna be.
You're not gonna door to
Mad
door.
rush, you know what
No,
I mean?
I know we're not gonna,
I,
but I think the notion that we're taking on outside projects that are new, that we have to staff, et cetera. It's not that it's a bad idea, it's a great idea, but it's premature. I've said enough. Thank you.
That's fine, that's fine. Thanks, Barbara.
Are you expecting a vote on whether we move forward?
I wasn't, no, she'll move forward and write up the policy, we're not gonna. I don't think we're gonna need to vote on it.
So the question
tonight.
will be whether the policy gets approved, not what the
Correct.
policy is.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes. Okay, any other comments about the tree and bench program? If
just a
you,
sidebar for your policy, you might wanna put a time frame, maybe spring and fall. 'Cause
It has that
we-
in there.
Okay, good, cause we can't go be planting these things in August.
No, it says like October to April
Okay.
or something. That's what I recall.
So the plaque, would you anticipate the plaques are going, getting nailed to a tree or?
Oh, I don't
Plaque
think-
on the ground.
I think that it's not nailed to a tree, I'm sure.
Yeah, with a copper stake.
Yeah, exactly.
Copper stake.
3-year tree.
Kill the tree with.
I do have a question, those bags, so I'm looking to plant 3 trees at the bike hub. For my community grant that I got, I wanna clean that up, rebark it, redo that. And I'd like to plant 3 trees behind the gazebo, 3 coral bark maples. A ways from the gazebo, but you said there's irrigation there, but with the water, so say I plant in April. Would the water bags be enough to carry them through the summer into fall?
Plant in February or March. And then we do the tree bags, and yes. that
Okay.
should be enough.
It was 15 gallons per bag and once a week if it's during the summer months.
Yeah.
We do that 2 summers and then they're good after that usually, so.
okay. Any other comments? I would just suggest that maybe if there are a couple of options for your bench. And some options for trees to narrow down the.
Well, Ken said before that he wanted, he said a specific kind where it's just a post, you know,
Yeah.
and rather than, the legs and all
Sit
of
on
that.
top,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
post, yeah, they give you like 3 options there, and
Mhm. Yeah,
about 6 options on the street trees.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's reasonable to just have, keep it limited like that. Makes it easier. This is, yeah.
Is there a hammock option? Cause I can use a hammock down by the
Yeah.
fire station.
You want one down by the bike.
Just 20 minutes. No, I need a bathroom at the bike hub.
We'll let you use one of the recliners.
Yeah,
There you go.
Does he need a special card permission?
No, I just walked across over this.
Oh, okay.
okay, thank you.
Okay, up next, Maple Street Park. Discussing the meeting with the high school personnel. I missed that meeting, unfortunately. I think Jerry and yourself, Jerry, did you go?
Well,
to
I was there, Jerry was, Scott was there,
Oh, okay.
and we met with the high school personnel, Larry Burrish, and you know the other, what was the other guy's name?
Gosh,
Irving.
Was it Nick?
Nick, yeah.
Yeah.
Nick Irwin?
Yeah.
And while we were there, they were actually doing some maintenance on the baseball field, so we got to watch them in action and talk to them while they were doing some repair work, which, do you want to talk about, I mean, what was discussed and
Well, we went to the practice football field first. And I'm walking on that, and then we walked over to the baseball field, and my feet are so sensitive for what I do, you could just tell. The football field, whether it's football and soccer, the cushion is 3 to 4 times more cushiony on a football and soccer than it is in baseball, softball. I mean, I noticed that as soon as I walked on the field, I said, there's hardly any give. So this black cancer causing stuff that we're worried about, there's a third less on baseball and softball than there is on football or soccer, because they need more bounce. Which I've never seen black on the baseball field, all because every time they maintenance, it's sand.
saying?
You ever seen any black when they slide? I never saw any black come up. You know, in football, you can see them, even your feet will kick it up, but I've never seen it on a softball or baseball. And when it's wet, it's not on their pants. They slide home, so.
We watched them put down, areas that, were worn over.
Yeah, they did the pitcher's stride mound, and then they did, one of the batter's boxes,
Yeah.
the right.
The right hand.
Yeah.
And they did, the repair work is with sand,
Mhm.
and they just put sand down and did a lot of raking in. I mean, it's fine, I think there's less of the black infill, like was mentioned. And, we're out for a contract on that right now, I think, right?
Design.
Design. So with a tentative start date of July 1. Okay,
What was their feeling on going from grass to turf or grass to artificial turf? Or do they have an opinion on that? Like the maintenance on it or?
the maintenance on it is, they do an annual.
They come in at the end of the year and they have this company, Pro something. They bring in the thing that brushes it out, and then they put the fill back in. And I don't think we need to do it every year, but I think if we do it every other year, I think that would really extend the life. So.
There's a little bit of spraying for weeds here and there, all up through there.
And the other thing was that, it was like $2,400 for 4 fields over at the high school to do the annual.
Yes,
To do the annual.
Yeah.
Cleanup.
it's like $600 a field, $650, which I didn't think was bad at all.
And with, I think the other thing that they ask is, say we put the turf at Maple Street. When we do that, then after a tournament or after a game or whatever, they go out there with a rake and they just rake up an area around the bases or home plate. They might have to throw some sand down also, but when the softball people were here, they do that now. A lot, so it's not anything extra for them to do. Anybody else have anything on Maple Street? Did we miss anything? No, okay, Ken? Okay, go ahead.
This is for old business, new business discussion. December 19th meeting, workshop to review CIP next steps.
Okay, what I'm proposing there is that. At our last meeting for the year on December 19th. I would make a copy of the CIP or have. Ken and Jeff or Jerry provide a copy of the CIP. The capital improvement projects that we have planned out over a 5-year period. Send that out to everybody. Everybody take a look at it in the year. I mean, we have. Auburn Farms in the works. We have Locust Street, the outdoor fitness court in the works. We have the turfing of the ball fields at Maple Street Park in the works. We have restrooms going at Community Park. We have those going in. So what's next? Okay. I don't wanna let moss grow under their feet.
Oh,
I wanna, we need to identify, is that gonna be a master plan for Wade Park? Would that be next? I mean, that's big, but I mean, we might just need to get the gears.
Wade Park will be the only thing we do for 2 years.
Yeah.
It'll be that big.
Yeah, it would be great. That or community, I don't know, it's kind of sick, but. I would get that CIP out to everybody, so you have a chance to look at it, so at that December 19th meeting. That's what I would like to discuss, do a. Roundtable discussion on what we feel that we would like, cause. In 2024, we may have 4 projects that are completed, they should be started, but they could be completed, so where do we go next? That's it. So,
speaking of the CIP, I found three copies in my file, none of them are dated. And I think some of the CIPs that are in my file are outdated. Could you send out the current and date the current CIP?
yeah, I think if we get Ken to come up with a current one, put a date on it, email it to me, and then I'll email it out to all you, everybody else.
I would like it to have the same information for everybody.
Yeah. Okay, city. Ryan, do you have anything for her?
Yeah, I was just gonna follow up. You had left me a voicemail, Barry, and Jim, you had emailed me about the parks per acre question. And this had come up because we've been doing, or we've started scenario planning for our comprehensive plan update, which will include the urban growth boundary expansion. And so there's a question of how the parks get folded into that, because ultimately the urban growth boundary is a request to the state saying we need this much more land out of our undesignated areas to come into the urban growth boundary. So that's something not fully resolved, but to answer the questions that you two had, the national and state recommended guidelines are 10 acres per 1,000 residents. Our adopted comprehensive plan, which is old, but that's what's currently in effect, is also 10 acres per 1,000. The Parks Master Plan that we just did said that we're currently providing 5.4 acres per 1,000 of developed parks, which are actual parks, the ones we tend to talk about here more, and then 16.6 acres per 1,000 for total open space. So that's Willamette Wayside and everything else. So the question has come up is, how does the master plan support the UGB request? And that is where it's a little tricky. I don't know if you guys remember, the consultant was wary of having a policy in the master plan that identified a acreage standard, because their position was that it's not legally defensible to require developers to pay SDCs for an acreage standard that's above what you're currently providing. And that was an item that we had been wanting our previous city attorney and previous city administrator to kind of clarify, and, you know, that never really happened. So we have an adopted master plan now that discusses it, but it doesn't identify, we're gonna create this many acres per thousand. So with all that said, this DLCD, which is the state agency that will ultimately analyze and approve our UGB expansion, they already know that we want to fold parks and open space into it. So we've brought that up every time that we talk about the UGB expansion. So it's just a matter of how many acres that is, you know, whether is it just a percentage of the residential ask, because that's how it's usually done is cities will say, we need this much acreage, you know, X number of acres of residential new land, and parks is like a, you know, 5% or 10% of that. But we want to do what's most legally defensible, so we're gonna dig into it a little bit more and see if we absolutely need to have something in the Parks Master Plan that supports whatever that number is. Does that answer?
Well, that answers my question, but I have another part to that. When I asked that question at the meeting the other night, and John said that the population was 6,000. So it was 1,000, it's 1,000 acres per, no, it's 10 acres per 1,000 citizens, and he said there were 6,000, but that isn't, right. I mean, the population of the city is 18,000.
Yeah, the delta between now and build out of the comprehensive plan is about 6,000. So he was talking about how much park need you would need for the additional residents,
But we're short already,
depending on which ratio you're using.
well, depending on the Parks Master Plan that they did. We're sitting at total developed and under, like you said, 16.6. And if we're basing that on the 18,000 people, we should have, what, 180 acres? I don't know. I mean,
No, but the 16.6 is per 1,000, and that's not the total. I don't recall the number of total acres.
If it's 10 acres per 1,000, we have 6,000, and that's gotta be registered voters, it can't be the population.
It was the increase.
The
No, it's
increase,
the-
yeah.
It was the increase.
Oh,
What we're looking
oh,
at 6,000.
we're at 18 now, and they're projecting us to be at.
But yet we're in a stagnant pause right now, correct? I think they talked about that last night, how the schools are 3%, I mean, there's no growth right now.
And. Well, in the total system, it says 328, but we know that's not true. Because you've got undeveloped in there, you've got Traverso at 98. And Willamette Wayside at 89, and we know that, I mean, those are nothing. Really, so.
Right, so, and that's why the developed park percentage that we're providing now is 5.4 acres per 1,000. Which is obviously below those guidelines. So
Below the national standard.
Those same documents say that cities around our size have about 7.7, like what they actually provide, not what the guideline is.
Yes.
So yeah.
We are at the bottom of the scale. Canada's at the bottom of the scale for parks and comparable cities of their size. We're running around 5 something, and the average is about 7. something.
Yeah.
Is that developed? I mean, when you say at the
Developed.
Right,
bottom,
yeah.
we're developed, we have parks.
So yeah, so we're
But we just have-
deficient, and if we add more people, we need parks for them too. So I think, you know, everything we're doing with the comp plan, like we're aware of that, it's just what is the absolute number that gets added to the UGB request? I think that's still to be determined.
So we're at a good point here, since we're gonna ask for that extra anyway, we can bring that 500 thing out. Ideally.
Right, and so
I do.
the question is, do we need to amend our parks master plan to actually identify an explicit policy that says the city's trying to get this many acres per 1,000 to support our UGB request? And so that's what we need to figure out. Or if it's just sufficient that we've got these other background documents like our old comp plan that have a policy of 10 acres per 1,000.
Well, when we add Auburn, there'll be 3 more acres.
Do you know the Mark's Place over by me?
Mhm.
I know there's a park up front. Is there gonna be a park in the back on phase 2? How many parks are over in that total project?
That one's a little interesting because they have several, but
But they
most of
control
it
them
is their
themselves.
control,
Yes.
right?
But
Yeah.
so that, does that count to us or no?
I don't think we're counting that in those figures. I would have to double check. But there is one piece that was dedicated to the
Okay.
city.
Yeah.
In addition to the trail
Yeah.
along the bluff
See that trail, like the Emerald
necklace.
necklace, you know, I mean, that would get, as we continue with that, that would add into the park's acreage as well, linear. Difference, I get it. Trails,
Yeah,
okay,
so that's, I just wanted to give an update on that we're aware of that and tracking it.
And it should be really, really easy to get it. No problem.
well, it's so tough, yeah.
Here's,
Which is why, once again, and I don't know if anybody, you know, from the city is approaching them or whatever. But getting a good working relationship with the school district, the school and the city. The school has a monopoly on all the land within the city limits. And they have a monopoly on the land and they're, I mean, what is their plan? Are they using it? I mean, we love to develop it and, you know, maybe make it into something, so. I mean, is anybody approaching the schools and saying, going back to the Ackerman project, I mean, we'll probably not get the school, but the land would be great. And the pool's there, you know, the adult center's there, we could do a lot of improving. You know, if we could get that land, it's 20 acres. So if we could get that land and put green space, trails, ball fields, I mean. We all know that we're short of ball fields that aren't controlled by the school, so.
Well, piggyback onto that real quick, so junior baseball, this goes into the schools, basically providing all the recreation for kids. Junior baseball is in the works of, was in the works of building a new batting cage. Not covered, but there's a cage over by Eccles and Night V now that's old and prepping. And so we were gonna put in a pole barn. Pole, again, not enclosed, but a roof. And initially they said, okay, that's fine, it's just replacing the other one, but it's just nicer. And then they came back and said, well, we might have a Title IX issue because softball doesn't have one. So they are now meeting to figure out what to do on that. But that, again, softball has their own facility. It's not on school grounds. But now we can't, because all of baseball's facilities are on school grounds. So now we are stuck and waiting for them on Title IX plan. So that kind of just goes to the how limited youth sports are in this community.
Yeah.
When you have to, you know, I get the Title IX thing, sort of, in this case. But yeah, so now it's So now we don't know if we'll be able to do the project.
So they don't, I mean, it's not on school property, so that one that's on private property that softball uses. I mean, that doesn't
That's
fall.
their, yeah,
That's
they
their-
lease that out, so basically what their deal is, well, if softball comes to us and says, we wanna put one in. Now we have to provide a location for them, which, like at Baker Prairie, there's a ton of open space, but. But we can't do anything until they figure out the softball thing, and softball's not even interested in doing anything, 'cause they have their own. So so now we have to wait and see for the school district to figure out what they gotta do. And we've had a cage there for, I don't know, 25 years.
Yeah.
It's just, we're putting a roof on it and making it nicer. So. But that's kind of the frustration with, when you have all your recreation on somebody else's land and they control all the
On
cars.
school property.
What, I think an important part on this will be like the summit that we had the other night. Identifying where we want parks and athletic fields and things like that in the comp plan. Because if we kind of shoot it in the dark now, that could hurt us versus completing the comp plan. Or working towards the comp plan, identifying that, getting an agreement by the citizens. Where these need to be, so if Ackerman is one of them, great. And if some of these other ones, now we can say, hey, we've got the comp plan, and we can take that to the school district, into the school board. As well, because it's identified in our plans, as usable space. But I think we gotta be careful too, that we don't attack it up front and lose the ability to try to sell it in the comp plan. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Because it's got, when I was coaching, it was frustrating too. Trying to deal with the school fields and stuff like that. There's definitely a need there for us to have parks and athletic fields. Some,
I don't wanna throw any more at Maple Street. What if the money that you were gonna put at the one by Eccles School? What if you put a batting cage between the two diamonds that we're gonna turf over at Maple Street and make a?
Yeah, I don't think
Not
that's a
big
big
enough.
enough spot, and the other part is, that's where basically we have night A, B, and MP. Those are kind of our three main fields
Oh, yeah,
that we run through, and so that cage is there, because that's all baseball kids.
sure,
And so if we take it off, then it becomes kind of
right,
just, that's why they can all, when they go to practice, there's three teams that can all use it at one time,
okay,
so.
bad idea.
No, it's a great idea.
Oh, no,
That's a great idea.
Did you use any fields last year at Baker Prairie? Cause those softball fields in the back are awesome now.
We use Baker House. Once they did that, they redid the grass, so
They
we're back.
drained it, they did the infields there, they're awesome. Yeah.
That was the first time in
Yeah.
15 years, I
Baker
think.
Prairie,
yeah. How many fields do they have at Baker Prairie now?
Three, well, baseball, softball, there's three of them. There's two in the back, two
Two in the
softball in the
back,
back.
one in front.
Do they still use the 5 fields at Akron? Early?
Yeah.
They did? Okay. Anything else on, with Ryan?
I have one last thing, and it's more for Bruce, but, City of Malala contacted Don and I and wanted to talk about the Traverso section. Because they're actually assembling a stakeholder group, to kind of do super preliminary planning of what they could do with their part of the logging road alignment. So, like, they're at the very beginning of it, but they just wanted to touch base, so I sent them the development plan that we had done, and then they asked about constraints and opportunities and stuff like that. So if they get, or maybe you guys are already talking to them.
I don't know anything about it.
Okay, so, if they get further down the road, they might, touch
Right.
base with you and Mindy and
Okay.
the group.
Have you given Mindy's number, a name, contact
Um,
information? Since she's
no.
chair?
But I can.
Okay.
That's all.
That's it? Jim, we're moving on to you, if you have any comments that you would like to.
Yeah,
sure. Make.
Yeah, first of all, for the ones that participated in the summit the other night, Summit 2, that was well attended. I was very, very impressed, and I thought, all the comments were very positive. By the people there, everybody presented some really good ideas, for the comp plan. Staff did an outstanding job hunting the ball after so many people showed up. There was a lot more there than expected, which was outstanding. And the comments were very, very good. A lot of input from the various tables in regards to athletic fields and parks. A lot of really good input from pretty much all the groups. There was a lot of similarities I found in regards to in regards to low density, high density, manufacturing, things like that, that people put up on the thing. I know Bruce was in my group, but for the most part, everybody was doing the same thing. For business and stuff like that. So I thought it was really good. So they'll come up with a schematic, of the results of that, and of course have the next meeting in December, I believe, for the comp plan update. But it's important, and I appreciate the people that showed up, because we need to be there to represent parks and athletic fields. Otherwise, we're not going to get it. So please, if you have the time, come to the next one. They're going to try to find a bigger venue, I think. Ackerman might be a good spot.
That might be.
Yeah, cafeteria there.
Yeah, we're gonna try to, I mean, their plan was originally just to do the one, but we're gonna plan to do a second.
Second Summit 2.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was outstanding. The city council meeting the other night, there was some discussion around, just so you're aware of it, around Ivy Street, and we rescinded one resolution that started the construction. Of course, that happened quite some time ago, so they had to retract that resolution and adopt a new resolution. The reason it's been held up is the Kembe utility and trying to get parts and things like that is been difficult at best, plus price of construction and stuff. But when that is done, it's going to be beautiful. It's gonna have bike lanes down it. It's going to have sidewalks and stuff like that. They are doing a lot of work underground there in regards to gas lines and sewer lines and things like that. So it's moving along, even though you don't see a lot of it. It is moving along. So we have approved a resolution on that. And then we also talked about the ARPA funding. And we allocated ARPA funding that we got from the federal government. And we made some commitments to various partners, Kembe Utility, the fire department, so on and so on and so on. We're going to maintain those commitments on the ARPA funding. We have some extra ARPA funding that was left over that we're looking at. Do we put that towards other projects that are in the urban renewal district to complete those projects, or do we use it for something else in regards to the funding of projects that the city needs to complete? So we did ask for the requirements of what we can actually use that ARPA funding for, and what has to be reported back to the federal government, so we don't get stuck with having to come up with that money when the federal government comes knocking. So anyway, we are asking for that to happen. We talked about city attorney recruitment. We're going to stay with what we're doing with an interim until we reevaluate that, but we're not going to be in a rush on that. We heard some really good information from Judge Graff in regards to if we do hire our own attorney, what the requirements are for having our own attorney and what the attorney can actually do. So that was good discussion. And then in the urban renewal meeting that we had afterwards, we didn't get done until about 10:15, 10:30, something like that. But in the urban renewal district, it's still slated to be sunsetted in 2025, 26 or around 26. in which time the city will get a lot of money back, that currently isn't being received by the city, for urban renewal. If you don't know, each one of us pays. I paid $700 and some to the urban renewal district. Every household in the city pays towards the urban renewal district, even though the urban renewal district is just an area of business and stuff like that, but we put money out of our taxes to go to that. Once that sunsets, then that money will go to the city, to the mosquito district, to the fire district, to the school district and stuff like that. So each one of those junior taxing districts, and the city council has made the commitment to sunset that in 25, 26. In the future, we may have to look at developing a new one for infrastructure, putting in streets and stuff like that in the urban growth boundaries that the city adopts and stuff like that. So we may have to look at that in the future. But that'll be a ways down, so. Yeah, anyway, it was a late meeting, wasn't it, Scott? Yeah, so
The whole thing.
I could state it clearly.
not the whole thing.
Enough, I saw enough.
Oh, and yes, city council vacancy, as you know, Councilman Bangs resigned, not this last meeting, the meeting before. And so we are going to start accepting applications at the end of this week. And through December, and then with interviews slated for around January 10th is what we landed on for interviews for that vacancy on the city council. So but I really do appreciate the people that are showing up for those summits. That was really good. It's fun. Yeah, it really was.
And for those that may not know, the city administrator, did they know?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Last night they did announce that Eileen Stein was offered the position and they're in negotiations with her contract. Questions for me, you guys?
Is that contract yearly or is it a 2-3-5 or is it yearly?
It all depends what they negotiate.
Okay.
Typically you go up to 3, the standard is like a 3-year contract.
Update. Whatever you can tell us, any update on the soccer?
I don't.
I'm not, I just,
Yeah,
you want to keep it in the notes.
right. Yes.
Yes, no.
We want to keep it in these notes.
Yeah, Coach Hill. Coach
Only
Hill
what you
in
can
the
tell.
athletic fields, I was contacted by Patrick, and Patrick is in discussion with a property owner. It's been very positive, is what Patrick said. We really can't say too much on it at this point because he has to talk to his board. And so he was gonna be doing that this week, actually. And then he'll give us an update from his board as far as their interest in what Patrick has to report back to them for the athletic fields.
Is Patrick carrying all of the is Patrick carrying all the
He's representing
responsibility?
Kojio.
Well, I knew that.
Yeah.
He's the only point guy.
Yeah, he's representing the board. He's doing an outstanding job.
We just stay out of his way.
Yeah. That's right.
Let him do what he does. All right, anybody else have any comments? If not, that's it.
Is it a record?
It could be.
725?
Don't say anything more. Can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll move to adjourn.
Jim's done that. Can I get a second? Ryan Oliver, all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right, this meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting will be December the 19th.
On a Tuesday.
Huh?
On a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday, back to Tuesday, the 19th, right back here.